Companies are laying off people in the thousands. So far, there's a report in the tech industry alone that 137,000 people have been laid off. Imagine 137,000 families losing a source of income. Mind you, we are not seeing this layoff only in unstable industries or startups. We are seeing layoffs in industries that people considered safe, like in healthcare, in media, in finance, in corporate management. We are seeing layoff in very safe industries. Of course, AI and technology are not helping matters. Most companies are taking the route of automation, outsourcing, or even like building a smaller team compared to the large number of teams they used to have in the past. The bubble has burst, especially in the tech industry, because now we're seeing highly skilled professionals unable to find a job. We're seeing people going from making like $250,000 a year to suddenly being unable to find a job. Some people are being forced into freelancing, contract working, or even having to change their careers just to survive. But then it's unfair to focus on the tech industry alone, because in some sense, every single industry is restructuring in some way. Companies everywhere are replacing certain tasks and jobs with outsourcing, automation, AI tools. And like I said, every single company is trying to downsize their team in some way. This shift in the job market is something that everybody needs to be prepared for mentally. Never assume it can happen to you, because the people that were laid off at some point thought they were immune to being laid off until it happened to them. The main reason why you need to be prepared is layoff does not just affect your finances. Layoff can actually take a massive hit on your confidence, your ego, and your identity. And if you get laid off, it is not time for you to panic. It is time for you to move strategically. Getting laid off becomes a long-term setback if you respond emotionally instead of intelligently. In this video, I'm going to walk you through what to do in the first 48 hours, the first 30 days, and how to position yourself so that you come out stronger on the other side. We're going to consider 6 different phases. Phase 1 is what to do in the first 48 hours after you get laid off. The first 48 hours after a layoff are the most dangerous because your mind is everywhere. That is when fear kicks in, and fear changes how people think. A layoff disrupts your life in 3 stages. The first one is a financial disruption. At this point, it starts to dawn on you that there is no salary coming in the next month. You're not expecting a paycheck and there is no money coming into your account. The second damage is to your ego. When you get laid off, your ego takes a massive hit. At this point, it's likely you've not come to terms with the fact that you've been laid off. It's still a surprise, it's still a shock, and your ego takes a damage because you're asking yourself, like, why me of all people? Why would they lay me off? I'm like the best that ever happened to them. And the next damage is to your identity. There is a disruption in your identity, especially if your entire self-worth was based on the fact that you had this job, or if this job was what kept you grounded and made you think that you're doing well in life. Most people think that they're hurting because of the loss of income, but usually it's also because of the identity they have lost. Because the moment someone asks you what do you do for a living and you have no answer to give to them, that alone is psychologically destabilizing and devastating. And that's why you see sometimes people start spiraling after they lose a job. Even when they still have money, they still have savings, but they start to spiral after a job loss. The reason is your brain interprets uncertainty as danger. And once panic kicks in, people start acting irrationally and start making terrible decisions. So the first thing to avoid doing in phase 1 is do not make any emotional decisions. This is not the time to post about how stupid your boss is, how stupid this company is, how you're better off without them, how you hate all your co-workers. It's also not the time to isolate yourself, because job loss can actually come with some level of shame, and what people do is they start to hide. And finally, don't accept any terrible job offer out of fear. This is the mistake that most people make. When they lose a job, they think that they need to jump into the next thing that comes their way, but then why not take your time and actually figure out what you want? Like I said, fear creates panic, and panic destroys sound judgment. A layoff can make a highly intelligent person to act irrational, because living in survival mode has a way of narrowing your way of thinking. And suddenly you go from asking yourself, like, what do I do long term, to thinking, well, I need to do the next best thing in order to stop like this feeling of discomfort or this shame that I'm feeling. That is dangerous. Pump the brakes at this point. This survival mode and this irrational way of thinking can make people make a lot of mistakes that on a normal they wouldn't make those mistakes. For instance, you see people draining their investment too early, or deciding to relocate to another place, or even destroy like professional relationship. Like I said, calling your boss out on social media and cussing him out. I've also seen people change their career path only after a few weeks of being unemployed. Yes, that is what that irrational thinking can do to you. The first thing you need to do is rephrase the way you are seeing that layoff. In most cases, layoffs are not performance-based. It has nothing to do with you. And guess what? Sometimes your manager even advocates strongly for you to stay back. It just didn't work out. A layoff has nothing to do with you. You were simply attached to the wrong department, an overhired team, a company restructuring, or just decisions that were made by executives in order to protect money or profit for the shareholders. That is economics. It's not a personal failure. The second thing you do in phase 1 is start gathering information. Panicking or being angry is going to get you nowhere. The first thing you need to do right now is start gathering information, because having access to information will reduce that mental or emotional chaos that you are struggling with right now. So what information do you gather? The first thing is find out how long your benefits are going to last. Ask your manager if the severance package is negotiable. Find out if you have any unused vacation and whether they can pay you off. If you have any stock options in the company, find out if you can cash it out or if it's affected. Find out if your company offers any career transition support, because most companies will offer you support in order for you to get another job. The other two most important thing you must find out is, do you still have access to the work files, and can you get references from them? The more clarity you have, the calmer you become. Lack of the unknown is what fuels anxiety. The third thing you need to do in phase 1 is secure all your professional history immediately. The one mistake that most people make is assuming that they will always have access to the company system or to their professional files, even though nowadays most companies tend to revoke access before they even fire you, but still find out if you have any access. Because once you lose access to the system, it means you've lost evidence of years of work. So download things that are relevant to you, nothing confidential, just your achievement. Example, performance reviews, recommendation letters. If there's any metric that shows that the project you laid was successful, you want to download that metric. Presentations, portfolio, certifications, download all those things. And lest I forget, if a manager or a client has ever sent you a positive feedback or an email commending you for something, you need to print that out. Because when you start looking for a job, these are the kind of things that give an advantage over others. Which brings us to phase 2. In phase 2, you learn how to control your finances, because this is where reality begins. Layoffs expose how financially fragile most people are. A shocking number of high earners are actually living paycheck to paycheck, and that's all because of lifestyle inflation. You need to figure out your runway immediately. The first number you need to calculate is, how long can I survive without an income? How many months can I actually stay without an income? For instance, if your monthly essentials come up to, like, say $1,800 and you have $9,000 saved, that is 5 months of runway. So you can actually survive 5 months without an income. How do you calculate this? Open your bank app and start calculating your essentials, your rent or your mortgage, your bills, food, utilities, insurance, transport, and important things like family obligation. The things that you cannot do without, those are the essentials that you need to calculate. At this point, you need to remove spendings that are not essential, something like eating out, subscription, luxury spending, convenience spending, status spending. If you fail to do this, you run the risk of what? Wasting money, because most people, when they're stressed, tend to spend emotionally, and emotional spending is the last thing we need at this stage. Don't think that being a high earner means you don't have to do this. Someone that is making $250K a year can actually be under more pressure than someone that is making, like, say $70K a year, because the person that earns the most likely spends the most. It's likely you have a high mortgage, a high car note, or you have an expensive lifestyle because you're trying to maintain your status in the society. High income does not always mean stability. When you go through your app, you'll find out how you have been spending unnecessarily. So regardless of your income, you actually need to do this exercise. You cannot miss it. The next one is enter survival mode. Your goal is not to look rich. Your goal is to buy time, because time will give you the opportunity to make better decisions. Cutting off unnecessary expenses also means that you have the ability to negotiate better for yourself. You can reject opportunities or jobs that don't serve you, and of course, it gives you the time to seek out the best job. The goal here is to spend as minimally as possible, to save as much as you can, and to avoid any unnecessary expenses. Which brings us to phase 3. Most people actually job hunt incorrectly. Job hunting is usually another period that panic tends to set in. You see someone applying to 100 jobs emotionally, no strategy, no planning, no direction, just mass applying out of panic. The problem is, if you apply to everything, you position yourself for nothing, and employers can actually smell your desperation, and that's why they take advantage of you, because they know that you have no choice and you're desperate. In this phase, the first question you should ask yourself is, who am I? Do you want your old job back, or do you want a better one for yourself? Because sometimes people are not grieving the loss of job, they are grieving their status, their identity, the salary, the routine, the prestige. That's why you need to ask yourself, do I want the same role in a different company? Do I want to move to another industry? Do I want to upgrade to a higher paying role? These are questions you need to ask yourself. For instance, if your previous job was as a customer rep, making, like, say $40K a year, this is the time to ask yourself, like, do I want to move into project management or operations, or even tech support, because those skills are transferable. So a layoff should be a period when you reflect, not just panic. The next thing is rebuild your CV or your resume with proof. This is the time that you go online and find out the best practices for CVs, because yours might be rusty at this point. So you need to find out what's in vogue when it comes to what? Building your CV. So instead of you saying that I manage clients in my previous job, you can say something like, I manage 40 high value clients and maintain a 98% retention rate. Something as simple as rewriting your CV can actually, like, increase the response that you get from people. Rewrite your CV using something like numbers, percentages, time impact, revenue impact, and also growth metrics. So anything that signifies the impact that you had on the company, that is something that you need to put on your CV. Now that you're done with the CV, it is time to reach out strategically, not emotionally. Don't message people and say something like, hey, I got laid off, can you help me? You need to be very direct and specific about the exact help that you need from them. Something like, I'm looking for opportunities in project management, in fintech, or in healthcare. If you hear of any roles that match, I would appreciate a referral. Something that is direct and specific. You're looking for a job, quite alright, but you need to be very, very specific about the exact job that you're looking for. That way, the moment they see something that matches with what you told them, it's easier for them to recall that you asked for this exact role. Does that make sense? Because the person you're reaching out to likely sees like hundreds or thousands of jobs every single day on LinkedIn. So unless you're specific, it's likely they will forget what you asked them. Now that you're ready, it is time to plan your job hunt like you have a job. You need to have a schedule. This will help you massively. I'm going to give you an example, but then you can fine tune it to fit you. How do you plan the schedule? 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. should be time for what? Applications only. What you do here is go to LinkedIn, Indeed, or any job hunting platform and apply to any job that suits the role that you're looking for. So 9 to 11, all you are doing is applying. Next, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. is time for skill building. Go online and look for a course that can certify you in any area that is relevant in your industry. 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. is time for rest. It is time for you to go have lunch or go have a nap. When you get back, 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. is time for networking outreach only. It is time for you to reach out to people who are relevant in your industries, who can help you with those job hunts. The first thing I advise is go on LinkedIn and comment on their posts. Yes, follow them and actually comment on their posts. That way, they take notice of you. So you don't only network when you private message them to ask for something. Even just you commenting or interacting with their posts can actually keep you on their radar. By interacting with their posts, whenever you reach out to them, it doesn't feel like you're coming to use them, because it feels like someone that they know already, because they're used to seeing you in their comments. The main reason I advise that you comment and interact with their posts is nobody wants to feel like they are being used, right? If a complete stranger walks up to you to ask for something, you might be wary because this is your first time seeing this person. But if you're used to seeing them in your comments or in your likes, it's easier for you to think that, oh, I know this person, even though you don't. So don't just go in asking for something. Interact with your post first. 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. is the time that you work on your resume. Go online and figure out what people are seeking for in your industries. If you are building your skills and taking certifications, that means at this point there should be something to add to your CV. So keep on refining your CV. From 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. you can take a break, go out there, exercise, rest, do whatever, hang out with your friends. But make sure you don't stay indoors thinking and isolating yourself. Go out there and interact with people. Which brings us to phase 4, skill building. Lay off will expose the gaps that you have in your skills. When you look at job listings, what skills are they requiring repeatedly? If you look at 10 different job listings, what skills do they have in common? What are they asking for? Example could be Excel, data analytics, digital marketing, AI tools, cloud certification, and the rest of them. You need to choose one high leverage skill. One, not 5, one skill. Take a course, get certified, and then build 2 to 3 small projects based on the certificate you obtained. And if possible, document your progress online. Taking courses and documenting it shows initiative. Instead of you wallowing in shame and in isolation, just go out there and you'll be surprised to see how many people are willing to help you. Only if you speak out, because they say a problem that is shared is half. Be open to people knowing your struggles. That way it's easier to help you. Phase 5, protect your mental health. This is where most people tend to struggle the most. In this phase, I need you to separate your title from your self-worth. You didn't lose your intelligence, you lost your job. Avoid comparing yourself to your friends who are still employed. Avoid them scrolling on LinkedIn looking at people who just got a promotion. Avoid consuming news that focuses on the job market, because that can also cause you to start panicking, because the news has a way of making everything seem worse than it is. Instead of focusing on others, it is time for you to start building like micro wins throughout your day. For instance, you can say something like, my win today is that I applied to 5 jobs, I reached out to 1 person, I learned a skill, I exercised, I did this and that. Build micro momentum throughout the day. Momentum is what fights depression. What do they say? Depression cannot hit a moving target, so keep on moving. In phase 6, it is time for you to find other sources of income. Instead of waiting around passively, you can ask yourself, is there any skill that I have that I can monetize right away? Example, if you have skills like graphic design, you can go to Fiverr and outsource yourself to work for people. If you're a good writer, freelancing might just be the way. If you're good at teaching something, you can take up online tutoring. If you have any admin skills, you can work as a virtual assistant in the meantime. Even getting as low as $500 can actually reduce that pressure. Finally, I want you to reframe the way you see layoff. Layoff should actually be a time of self-discovery. Layoffs take you out of your comfort zone and forces you to face reality. Ask yourself, did I even like that job? Was I underpaid? Did I stay there out of fear? A layoff can actually be a blessing, because a layoff can actually do the things that you were scared to do. Some people discovered themselves after they lost a job. Some people went on to open businesses or even like invent things just because they lost their job. The outcome of a layoff depends on how you treat it. Don't see layoff as a time to wallow in shame and anger. See layoff as a setback for a greater launch. Alright guys, that's the end of this video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to share, like, subscribe, hype and all that, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Thanks for watching.